Hello, everyone. Good to see you again. It is time for more Hobbit. Thank you all for my Patreon supporters. I just had another one ad at the time of this recording, and it always makes my day. You guys, I want you to know, you are the reason that I keep doing this. So thank you for watching.
Quite safe, yes, he whispered to himself. It won't see us, will it, my precious? No, it won't see us, and its nasty little sword will be useless. Yes, quite.
That is what was in its wicked little mind as he slipped away from Bilbo's side and flapped back to his boat and went off into the dark. Bilbo thought he had heard the last of him. Still he waited for a while, for he had no idea how to find this way out on his own. Suddenly he heard a screech. It sent a shiver down his back. Gollum was cursing and wailing away in the gloom, not very far off by the sound of it. He was on his island, scrabbling here and there and searching and seeking in vain.
Where is it? Where is it?
Bilbo heard him crying.
Lost it is, my precious, lost, lost. Curse us and crush us, my precious, is lost.
What's the matter? Bilbo called. What have you lost?
It mustn't ask us, shrieked Gollum. Not its business. No, Gollum. It's lost. Gollum, Gollum, Gollum.
Well, so am I, cried Bilbo, and I want to get unlost, and I won the game, and you promised, so come along. Come and let me out, and then go on with your looking. Utterly miserable as Gollum sounded, Bilbo could not find much pity in his heart. He had a feeling that anything Gollum wanted so much could hardly be something good. Come along, he shouted.
Not yet, precious, Gollum answered. We must first search for it. It's lost, Gollum.
But you never guessed my last question, and you promised, said Bilbo.
Never guessed,
said Gollum, and then suddenly out of the gloom came a sharp hiss.
What has it got in its pockets? Tell us that. It must tell first.
As far as Bilbo knew, there was no particular reason why he should not tell. Gollum's mind had jumped to a guess quicker than his, naturally, for Gollum had brooded for ages on this one thing, and he was always afraid of it being stolen. But Bilbo was annoyed at the delay. After all, he had won the game pretty fairly, and at a horrible risk. Answers were to be guessed, not given, he said.
But it wasn't a fair question, said Gollum. Not a riddle, precious, no.
Oh, well, if it's a matter of ordinary questions, Bilbo replied, then I asked one first. What have you lost? Tell me that.
What has it got in its pockets?
The sound came hissing louder and sharper, and as he looked towards it, to his alarm, Bilbo now saw two small points of green peering at him. As suspicion grew in Gollum's mind, the light of his eyes burned with a pale flame. What have you lost? Bilbo persisted. But now the light in Gollum's eyes had become a green fire, and it was coming swiftly nearer. Gollum was in his boat again, paddling wildly back to the dark shore. Such a rage of loss and suspicion was in his heart that no sword had any more terror for him. Bilbo could not guess what had maddened the wretched creature, but he saw that all was up and that Gollum had meant to murder him at any rate. Just in time he turned and ran blindly back the passage down which he had come, keeping close to the wall and feeling it with his left hand.
What has it got in its pockets?
He heard the hiss loud behind him and the splash as Gollum leapt from his boat. What have I wonder, he said to himself as he panted and stumbled along. He put his left hand in his pocket. The ring felt very cold as it quietly slipped onto his groping finger. The hiss was close behind him. He turned now and saw Gollum's eyes like small green lamps coming up the slope. Terrifying, he tried to run faster, but suddenly he struck his toe on a snag in the floor and fell flat on his little sword under him. In a moment Gollum was on him. But before Bilbo could do anything, recover his breath, pick himself up, or wave his sword, Gollum passed by, taking no notice of him, cursing and whispering as he ran. What could it mean? Gollum could see in the dark. Bilbo could see the light of his eyes, palely shining from behind. Painfully he got up and sheathed his sword, which was now glowing faintly again. Then, very cautiously, he followed. There seemed nothing else to do. It was no good crawling back down to Gollum's water. Perhaps if he followed him, Gollum might lead him to some way of escape without meaning to.
"Curse it! Curse it! Curse it!" hissed Gollum. "Curse the Pegasus! It's gone! Where is it got in its pockets? Oh, we guess, my precious! He found it. Yes, he must have my birthday present."
Bilbo pricked up his ears. He was at last beginning to guess himself. He hurried a little, getting as close as he dared behind Gollum, who was still going quickly, not looking back, but turning his head from side to side, as Bilbo could see from the faint glimmer on the walls.
"My birthday present! Curse it! How did we lose it, my precious? Yes, that's it. When we came this way, when we twisted that nasty young squeaker, that's it. Curse it! It slipped from us. After all these ages and ages, it's gone, Gollum!"
Suddenly Gollum sat down and began to weep, a whistling and gurgling sound horrible to listen to. Bilbo halted and flattened himself against the tunnel wall. After a while Gollum stopped weeping and began to talk. He seemed to be having an argument with himself.
"It's no good to go back there and search, no. We doesn't remember all the places we visit, and it's no use. The Pegasus has got it in its pockets. The nasty nosers has found it, we says. We guesses, precious, only guesses. We can't know we found the nasty creature and squeezes it. But it doesn't know what the present can do, does it? It just keep it in its pockets. It doesn't know and it can't go far. It's lost itself, the nasty nosy thing. It doesn't know the way out, it says so. It says so, yes, but it's tricksy. It doesn't say what it means. It won't say what it got in its pockets. It knows. It knows a way in. It must know a way out, yes. It's off to the back door. To the back door, that's it. The goblins will catch it then. It can't get out that way, precious. Goblins. But if it's got the present, or precious present, the goblins will get it, Gollum. They'll find it. They'll find what it does. We shan't be safe ever again, no, Gollum. One of the goblins will put it on, and no one will see him. He'll be there, but not be seen. Not even our clever eyes will notice him. He'll come creepsy and tricksy and catch us, Gollum. Then let's stop talking, precious, and make haste. If the Baggins has gone that way, we must go quick and see. Go, now, make haste." With a spring, Gollum got up and started shambling off at a great pace. Bilbo hurried after him, still cautiously, through his chief fear now was of tripping on another snag and falling with a noise. His head was in a whirl of hope and wonder. It seemed that the ring he had was a magic ring. It made you invisible. He had heard of such things, of course, in old tales, but it was hard to believe that he had really found one by accident. Still, there it was. Gollum, with his bright eyes, had passed him by, only a yard to one side. On they went, Gollum flip-flapping ahead, hissing and cursing, Bilbo going softly as a hobbit can. Soon they came to the places where, as Bilbo had noticed on the way down, side passages opened this way and that. Gollum at once began to count them. 1 left, yes. 1 right, yes. 2 right, yes. 2 left, yes. And on. The count grew, and he slowed down. He began to get shaky and weepy, for he was leaving the water further and further behind, and he was getting afraid. Goblins might be about, and he had lost his ring. At last he stopped by a low opening, and there left as they went up. 7 right, yes. 6 left, yes, he whispered. This is it. This is the way to the back door. Here's the passage. He peered in and shrank back. But we dursn't go in, precious. No, we dursn't. Goblins is down there. Lots of goblins is. We smells them. What shall we do? Curse them and crush them. We must wait here, precious. Wait a bit and see. So they came to a dead stop. Gollum had brought Bilbo all the way out after all, but Bilbo could not get in. There was Gollum sitting humped right in the opening, and his eyes gleamed cold in his head, and he swayed from side to side between his knees. Bilbo crept away from the wall more quietly than a mouse.
Gollum stiffened at once, and sniffed, and his eyes went green. He hissed softly but menacingly. He could not see the Hobbit, but now he was on the alert, and he had other senses that the darkness had sharpened, hearing and smell. He seemed to be crouched right down, with his hands splayed flat on the floor, and his head thrust out, nose almost to the stone. Though he was only a black shadow in the gleam of his own eyes, Bilbo could see or feel that he was tense as a bowstring gathering for a spring. Bilbo almost stopped breathing. He went stiff himself. He was desperate. He must get away out of this horrible darkness while he had any strength left. He must fight. He must stab the foul thing, put its eyes out, kill it. It meant to kill him? No, not a fair fight. He was invisible now. Gollum had no sword. Gollum had not actually threatened to kill him or tried yet, and he was miserable, alone, and lost. A sudden understanding, a pity mixed with horror, welled up in Bilbo's heart. A glimpse of endless, unmarked days without light or hope of betterment, hard stone, cold fish, sneaking and whispering. All thoughts passed in a flash of a second. He trembled, and then quite suddenly, in another flash, as if lifted by a new strength and resolve, he leaped. No great leap for a man, but a leap in the dark. Straight over Gollum's head he jumped, 7 feet forward and 3 in the air. Indeed, if he had known it, he only just missed cracking his skull on the low arch of the passage. Gollum threw himself backwards and grabbed as the Hobbit flew over him, but it was too late. His hands snapped on the thin air, and Bilbo, falling fair on his sturdy feet, sped off down the new tunnel. He did not turn to see what Gollum was doing. There was hissing and cursing almost at his heels at first, but then it stopped. All at once there came a blood-curdling shriek filled with hate and despair. Gollum was defeated. He dared go no further. He had lost his prey, lost, too, the only thing he had ever cared for, his precious. The cry brought Bilbo's heart to his mouth, but still he held on. Now faint as an echo, but menacing, the voice came behind him. "Thief! Thief!